Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're going to be checking out the brand new Shadow Pokemon in the world of Pokemon Go, Shadow ALOLAN Ninetales. I tested out Shadow A9 in the Great League using Powder Snow, and honestly I was extremely impressed. Thanks to the extra damage from being Shadow, both Weather Ball and Powder Snow do significantly more damage, meaning that Shadow A9 is a lot more oppressive than the regular. So this is a Pokemon I would definitely recommend getting. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out Shadow A9 in action in the Great League. Hopping to the first match, sending Medicham into Shadow Dragonair. Not a bad lead by any means, but I will want to save switch out of here eventually, as oftentimes Shadow Dragonairs have some kind of steel type in the back. They are going to commit the shield on the Ice Punch. I continue to farm, and they are very close to the back-to-back body slams. I'm going to shield. I do want to preserve the Medicham, farm up to the Ice Punch, switch, and catch the body slam onto my Noctowl. This way, I waste the Dragonair's energy, and I'm able to bait out their steel type, Registeel, which my ALOLAN Ninetales definitely does not want to see. Noctowl is going to fire off the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball will do some solid chip damage. Registeel is going to go for the Zap Cannon, and I will immediately let this go. Noctowl has done its job, baited out the Registeel, and now I send in the Medicham to try and chip away at the Registeel's health. I'm going to fire off the Psychic. This is resisted, but will be getting that Registeel into the red. Registeel is going to go for the Focus Blast. This will KO, and then I can send in the Shadow A9 to farm up. In comes Shadow A9. Opponent sends in Noctowl, and this is one of the matchups that is made significantly better by being Shadow. The combination of Shadow damage allows Weather Ball and Powder Snow to hit a lot harder. So normally, Noctowl would be able to reach 2 moves, but in this particular instance, they are not able to get there due to the extra damage from Shadow A9. We'll have to see what my opponent decides to do. They're going to send in the Dragonair. Dragonair is just going to get farmed down. Back in comes the Registeel, and I'm going straight for the Dazzling Gleam. Dazzling Gleam takes down the Registeel, and that is a good game. Picking up a great lead in the next match, Medicham into Galarian Stunfisk. Opponent will immediately save switch into Sableye, and I have a great response available in Noctowl. Noctowl can very safely farm up to the back-to-back Sky Attacks, as I will be able to get there before Sableye makes it to a return and a foul play. I'm able to make it to the back-to-back Sky Attacks here, and at this point, if my opponent wants to grab a shield, they're going to have to commit a shield first, so I'm in a very nice spot. This Noctowl is going to be able to KO with the Sky Attack. We'll have to see, does the opponent send back in the G-Fisk? Yes, they do. G-Fisk going for the Rock Slide. They do not want to take any extra damage on the Fisk. Rock Slide is going to KO. I immediately send in Medicham. In the back, they have Trevenant. And this is another matchup where being Shadow is incredibly nice for ALOLAN Ninetales. Because look at those Powder Snows absolutely tear through the Trevenant. Trevenant is actually not going to be able to make it to 3 Seed Bombs in this matchup, specifically due to the extra damage from Powder Snow. I decide to commit the shield here because I know they're not going to be able to reach another move. Trevenant not able to get there, and my ALOLAN Ninetales is absolutely loaded on energy, firing off Weather Ball after Weather Ball into the G-Fisk. G-Fisk burns the final shield. There's just nothing they can do here. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. Nightmare lead in the next match, Medicham into Cofagrigus. Immediate save switch into Shadow Ninetales, and the opponent is staying in this matchup. So it looks like they do not have a great answer to Ninetales in the back. My opponent baits with a Dark Pulse, and they're able to grab my shield. I farm up a ton of energy, and I'm gonna bait as well. Going for the Weather Ball. Weather Ball gets no shielded as my opponent is able to call the bait. Very nicely done. I'm going for Weather Ball number 2 onto Cofagrigus. Cofagrigus commits the shield, and I'm more than happy to double shield in this matchup because it looks like my Ninetales is very valuable. And that looks to be the case as they're going to send in Noctowl. So it looks like they are incredibly weak to Ninetales in the back. So I'm going to save the Ninetales and catch onto my own Noctowl. I've saved a Weather Ball for later, and now I'm going to commit to an incredibly aggressive farm down with my Noctowl. They'll be able to reach another Sky Attack. This will be getting my Noctowl into the red, but honestly, that is fine by me, as I should be able to leave with a ton of loaded energy here. In the back, my opponent has Altaria, so I was right. They are incredibly weak to Shadow Ninetales. I fire the Sky Attack. I go for the Shadow Ball, but they make a beautiful catch, catching that onto Cofagrigus. I'm looking to switch into Medicham. My switch clock is not quite up yet. I'm going to send in the Medi. Medi will be able to make it to the Ice Punch before they make it to a potential Moonblast. Ice Punch is going to get the shield. I just have to wait a little bit. Switch and snipe with the Shadow Ninetales. This Weather Ball will be KOing Altaria and securing the win. The tough leads continue in the next match, Medicham into Noctowl. I'm going to save switch into my Shadow A9, and my opponent is going to respond with Lantern. Not a great situation to be in whatsoever, but at the very least, I got to bait out the Lantern, so that way my Noctowl will not have to face it. And Dazzling Gleam gets a shield as my opponent respects the damage from the Shadow A9. They go for a Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt is not going to be enough to KO. Ideally, when going up against the Shadow A9, you are going to want to go for Double Surf, as that is going to be more energy efficient. My opponent is able to KO. I'm going to send in my Medicham. I'm just looking to get rid of this Lantern. I'm perfectly fine with soaking energy on the Medicham, because honestly, I'm just relying on Noctowl to win this game for me. So I'm going to farm up quite a bit here and go for the Psychic. I'm hoping that this is going to be enough to KO. Psychic onto the Lantern is enough to KO. In comes Noctowl. I'm going for the Ice Punch. Ice Punch will get some chip damage, and then I'll send in my own Owl. In comes Noctowl in the back. They have their own Medicham, and with an energy lead, I'm in an incredibly good spot here. Going for the Sky Attack. Sky Attack gets the shield from the Medicham. Medicham continues to farm. Noctowl, I have 2 shields. I'm going to start using them. I'm going to shield up the Ice Punch, and then I am going to go for the Shadow Ball. A Shadow Ball does do slightly more damage here. Shadow Ball into the Medicham, gets the KO. Opponent is going to send back in their own Noctowl, and they do have a ton of energy here. They're going to start throwing. They go for the Sky Attack. Sky Attack gets me low. I go for the Sky Attack, but I end up losing CMP. My opponent also running an attack-weighted Owl. I'm going to fire off the Sky Attack after expending my final shield. Sky Attack gets them low. Send in Medicham. Medicham gets the farm down, and that is a good game. Great lead in the next match, Medicham into another Galarian Stunfisk. Opponent is actually staying in this matchup, which I am perfectly fine with. I don't have to shield in this matchup. They're going to go for the Earthquake. That's perfectly fine by me. My opponent actually goes for a bait, which is quite surprising. I'm going to go for the Ice Punch here. Ice Punch is going to get them low. And you know what? Let's do something a little fun. I farm up, switch, and catch what should be the Earthquake onto my Noctowl. Yes, it is. In comes Azu, and that is a good game. Tough lead in the next match, Medicham into Sableye. I'm going to immediately save switch into my Shadow Ninetales, and my opponent responds with Bastiodon. Well, the best thing about being Shadow in this particular matchup is that they're going to get slightly less energy because you get smacked down faster. Honestly, that's about the kindest thing I can say in this matchup, as Bastiodon absolutely crushes A9. I make it to the Dazzling Gleam. Bastiodon gets the full farm down. I just have to hope that now that I've baited out the Bastiodon, my Noctowl is going to be able to get rid of their Sableye and whatever their final Pokemon is. They go for the Flamethrower. I'm going to tank that on Medicham. Medicham looking for the farm down. Bastiodon makes it to another move. I'm again going to let this go and then look for the farm down. I'm going to bank all this energy for later, send in the Noctowl into the Sableye. It's Reggie in the back, and I concede the match. Moving into the next match, sending Medicham into another Shadow Dragonair. Same game plan as before, grab a shield, eventually switch out, but my opponent has other plans as they make a very nice catch, catching the Ice Punch onto their Lantern. Since my backline is very weak to Lantern, I do need to stay in this matchup. Lantern does have enough for the Thunderbolt here. I'm going to let it through. Thunderbolt is able to land and get the Medicham low. Medicham is going to return fire with Psychic. Psychic not going to be enough to KO, but will get the Lantern into the red. Medicham continues to farm. Lantern is going to go for the last second charge move. I'm just going to let this go and then hope that I can Powder Snow down before they make it to a move. Lantern lives on 1 HP and makes the last second surf. That is very unfortunate. I will commit the shield. Opponent sends in Dragonair. They're going for a Body Slam. That makes me think they might be weak in the back. And they are. They have Noctowl, and I have the back-to-back Weather Balls loaded. I'm going to fire both into the Noctowl. I'm either going to be able to deal massive damage or grab all of their shields. I'm going for the Weather Ball. Weather Ball gets the shield, and now I'm going to bring in my own Noctowl. I'm saving my Shadow A9 for later since it's incredibly valuable versus my opponent's remaining Pokemon. They go for the Sky Attack, that's perfectly fine by me. I go for my own, but again, I end up losing CMP. My opponent is going to land the Sky Attack. I'm going to fire off a Sky Attack of my own. Sky Attack is going to land. Opponent sends in Shadow Dragonair. Their Dragonair gets the farm down, but bad news for them. They are not going to be able to Dragon Breath down the Shadow Ninetales. Ninetales can shield once, farm all the way down, leave with the Weather Ball, and Weather Ball will easily KO the Noctowl. Back in comes the Noctowl. It gets KO'd, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, picking up a tough lead Medicham into another Noctowl. Same game plan as before, immediate save switch into the Shadow Ninetales, and the opponent sends in Galarian Stunfisk. This is another matchup where being Shadow helps Powder Snow Ninetales quite a bit, as if you have a good enough IV spread, according to simulations, with a small energy lead, you can actually flip the 2-shield versus Galarian Stunfisk. Unfortunately, I don't have the best stat product ever, as mine only gets to 1479 CP, so mine is not quite able to flip this, but as you're going to see, in the 1-shield, my Ninetales gets extremely close. I fire off the Weather Ball, they commit the shield, and as you can see, that Stunfisk is almost KO, which is kind of crazy. Rock Slide is unfortunately going to knock me out. I'm going to wait my clock, send in Medicham, and just absorb whatever energy they have. I don't believe they were able to make it all the way to the Earthquake. It is going to be just the Rock Slide, so I'm perfectly fine with taking that. In comes my opponent's Noctowl. I'm going to fire off a charge move with my Medicham, and then I'm going to send in my own Owl. In comes Noctowl. Opponent is going to send in their own Medicham, and I'm going for the Sky Attack. Honestly, I should have built up to at least fake a potential Shadow Ball, because my opponent actually chooses to let this through, as Medicham is able to tank a Sky Attack in the 0-shield. Medicham has a ton of energy. I let the first move through, and they bait with a Power-Up Punch, so I'm incredibly happy that I let the first move through. I go for the Sky Attack to force the final shield. Opponent wants to reach the boosted Psychic, so you know what? I'm going to commit the shield. My opponent has energy, but they're going to need a lot of energy to KO my Owl and the Medicham. I'm able to reach the Sky Attack. Sky Attack gets them low. Aggressive switch into my Medicham to catch the Sky Attack aimed at the Noctowl. Sky Attack will do a lot, but Medicham able to punch down and get the win. Picking up a great lead in the final match, Medicham into Shadow Walrein, let's go. Opponent save switches into Azumarill, and honestly, this is a tricky Pokemon for this team to deal with. I'm going to fire off the Psychic here. Psychic will do some solid chip damage. I'm going to throw one more counter, switch into Noctowl, hoping to catch the Psychic, but bad news for me, they hold on to their energy, and now they're able to land the Ice Beam. Ice Beam does do quite a bit of damage here. I'm going to commit the shield because I do want to keep switch. I need to keep the Medicham aligned against the Shadow Walrein. I'm going to farm up, and here I get a bit greedy. I should have gone for the Shadow Ball, but I was hoping to go for the Sky Attack and the farm down. Sky Attack and the farm not quite able to KO, and I throw the Sky Attack on CMP. Sky Attack gets the shield, and it KOs because even a shielded charge move does 1 HP of damage. In comes the Shadow Walrein. They're going to be met with the Shadow Ball. This Shadow Ball does quite a bit of damage, and now I'm going to fully wait my clock because our clocks were misaligned, and I'm going to send in my Medicham. Medicham looking for the farm down. They're going to be able to reach the Earthquake here. Earthquake will do quite a bit of damage in the back. Opponent has Lantern, and that's not what I was hoping to see. So the opponent running a triple water strategy. Psychic is able to land, no debuff, and now I send in the Shadow Ninetales. Opponent is going to start firing off Surfs, and they do have a small energy lead as well. And as you can see, it looks like 2 Surfs are going to be lethal. I farm up to the Dazzling Gleam. I decide to go for a bait. Weather Ball gets no shielded as my opponent makes an incredible read. And honestly, this is not looking too good for me here. I'm going to farm up. I'm able to force CMP, which is good, but they can just shield, and then Surf is going to KO. And I just have to trust in Medicham to be able to win this game. This is going to be close. Surf is going to KO. In comes Medicham. Medicham gets the farm down. Opponent going to send in the Shadow Walrein, and it's a tie. All in all, I was extremely impressed with Shadow Powder Snow Alolan Ninetales. Being Shadow also does help the charm Ninetales, but honestly running Powder Snow is more my playstyle. Being able to have the extra damage for both Powder Snow and Weather Ball proves to shore up a lot of matchups, especially going up against Pokemon like Trevenant and Noctowl, which you're going to see honestly constantly in the current Great League meta. So when you're out hunting for Shadows during this event, I would list this as the top priority. Make sure you get a Shadow Alolan Ninetales, because this thing is an absolute beast. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely incredible. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.